Sometimes when you go into the Enchanted Forest, you'll be going in the dark at night, and quite probably at the dark of the moon. So you won't even have the moonlight to help you, to make you feel more secure. How do you feel about the dark? Do you like the dark? Are you afraid of the dark? Both, even. Both is fine. I sometimes feel both. And I can be out in the dark and noises will happen. I'll hear sounds, even one that I know, like an owl hooting overhead. I know that that is just there. But at that moment, I jump. I'm scared. And that's okay. But going in strangeness, and the dark is always strange. I'm used to going out in the dark a lot, but it's still different and changes. And I can't actually walk quite the same as I do in the daylight because I can't see so well. I might trip over something. To see the difference of something is much harder. To see the path is much harder. So how do you feel about the dark? How are you going to feel about going into the Enchanted Forest in the dark? I really recommend it. There is so much to learn and so much to know. And it's such fun once you get used to it. But it's difficult. And it's difficult even for those of us who do it all the time. You can feel their eyes staring at you. And you look round and there's nothing there. Something moves and you don't know what it was. You couldn't see it. There's a noise, there's a crackle behind you. A bat goes whoosh in front of you. An owl sort of swoops down silently over your head, makes you jump, let alone hooting. There's lots and lots. You might suddenly be lucky and see a vixen poking her nose out between the ferns beside the path, wondering who you are. And if you can manage to go there and go and find somewhere good to sit and just sit still, and you sit very still and don't have a light and don't have a fire, you'll find that all the night denizens of the forest will come and visit you. Little mice, rabbits, hares, frogs, toads, foxes, badgers, all sorts. It all goes on, as well as owls and bats. And it's fine to do this. It's lovely to do this. In fact, I'm luckier than most people because I was brought up with an uncle who was a woodsman who used to take me into the woods that he managed at night. And we would just go and sit there. And again, no fire, no light, very quiet, not saying anything. And I've had a fox come up and sniff and lick my hand. I've had little mice run over my feet. I've seen hares, rabbits, badgers come snuffling around. All sorts. And of course the owls and bats. And it's quite fascinating because you are quiet, because you are still, you are accepted by these others. You are accepted by nature. They allow you in and they will come close to you because you feel safe. This is the sort of thing that you can experience without actually having to go into the woods. As you go into the Enchanted Forest, as you go on one of the Enchanted Forest journeys that I'm going to show you about in a few weeks' time. When you go on these journeys, you are really there. It feels like you're actually there. And it feels like all of these things happen. You know, the hair will stand up on the back of your neck at a crackling noise that you will hear on the journey in your mind's eye in the Enchanted Forest. And you will learn from that. It's part of the experience of getting used to the whole of nature, the whole of life, that you go into the bits that are scary as well as the bits that are fun. And one of the people who does this a lot is the witch. There are several witches in the forest. This is just one of them. And there she is, in the forest, in the dark. She has marked her sacred space as a circle, and she's there, being in it. And if you look very closely, you may see eyes peering out at her in the card. They are there. Now, she's not worried. Look at her face. That lady's not worried, is she? She's fine. And that's because she's done it often. She's used to doing things that are difficult, that are a bit challenging, that she's not done before. And she's used to really learning and working with her fear so that it doesn't affect her as it might do some of the rest of us. When something really unexpected happens, she'll stop and turn and look. And then, knowing her, she will ask it who it is, why it is there, what is its purpose, has it got something for her, does it need something from her? Now that last question is really important because it's the one that usually happens when something scary comes along to meet us, especially in the Enchanted Forest. The whatever it is comes because it needs something from us. It needs some change from us and some gift, recognition, acknowledgement from us. And when we give that, when we're prepared to gift that to this scary thing that has come, then we will get gifts in return. They have things for us. Now, our witch here, one reason she's not scared is because she's done it many times before. But look, she's not using a magic wand. She's not doing anything. The drops of light are just trickling from her fingers. She doesn't need Harry Potter's wand. She doesn't need a broomstick to get there. She doesn't need a crystal ball to see things. She knows that everything that she ever needs is all inside her. And that she can, so she carries it with her all the time. And so she can reach into it, reach into herself to get whatever she needs at that time. And that's one of the big lessons that the Enchanted Forest gives all of us when we go in there. We find the inner skills, the inner ancestral wisdom that we all have inside. And not only we find it, but we learn how to use it, and we learn when we need to use it and when we need to use which bit. We become really skilled at working with the ancestral wisdom that we all know we've got inside, but it's a bit fuzzy and weird and we don't really know how to deal with it. And it looks like a tangled ball of string. And where's the end and where do I find my way? Journeying in the Enchanted Forest is how you find your way, how you learn how to use the various skills. And most of all, how to find that ancestral wisdom within yourself. It doesn't happen all at once. You don't suddenly round a corner and there it is, box open, here I am, come and get me. It doesn't happen like that. You get this little bit, and then this little bit, and then that little bit, and then that little bit. And part of your learning is putting all those little pieces together. It's a bit like a jigsaw. Difficult jigsaw because you haven't really got the picture. You know, jigsaw's nice, you've got a picture on the box, you know what you're supposed to be doing. There isn't a box. And there isn't a picture for you to follow. So you have to go into the forest in the dark, like a witch, and you find the pieces. In many ways, you could say that those little drops of light that are falling from her fingers are the various pieces that she has learned, she has within herself, and that she can use. And she's learned how to use them, and when to use them, and where to use them. And you do that step by step. The Enchanted Forest, going into it and learning from it, the pathways, you do it step by step. And at the beginning, it's baby steps. You know, you're not running, you're not doing 100 yards just like that. It's baby steps, and it's step by step for other reasons too. In order to find the ancestral wisdom within you, you're going to need to walk and notice every single step, because there will be something there for you each time, each step. You have to see all around you. So your eyes are going to be going everywhere, all around you. And you're also going to be noticing all the feelings that you have within. You notice the fear. What sort of fear is it? And there's different fear. There's total and utter terror. There's, oh, that made me jump. There's, hang on a minute, what was that? There's, oh, I'm not sure about this one. All different sorts. And they will each have different messages for you. Just the same as the joyful things. There's the stream there beside your path, just when you thought you'd never get another drink. There is the key that you need to get into the whatever it is, right there. But you had to go through this twisty old path, down through that tunnel, and outside that tree, around this corner, in order to find that key. So you had to notice your journey all the time. It's not hard to do. It sounds hard to do because maybe you've never thought about doing it before. But I bet you do quite a lot of it anyway. And the more you practice doing it and noticing, the more you get from it and the better you get at doing it. And of course, when you actually notice things like this, when you really get deep into it and see these things, then they stick with you. There's another thing about this too. Quite often you get a textbook and it says, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. Sounds a little bit like a recipe in a cookery book. And so you sort of learn the steps off by rote. Now, sometimes that can be quite useful. I mean, learning how to start the car on the rote, so that, you know, to unlock, set in, turn the key, put your foot here, put it into gear there, take the handbrake off, now press the accelerator. Those are step by steps. And if you don't do them in order, it won't work. But life isn't often like that. Life isn't a set of ordered steps. Life is a set of things you need to notice and do on the fly, as you're doing it, in life, on the job. That takes more practice. It's usually not too hard for most of us. I'm not actually one of those, but for many of us, to learn something off by heart. So you do it on autopilot. In a sense, you're not really conscious when you're doing it. You're just, dun, 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 dun. I mean, I don't actually have to think every time I go to drive the car. I'm actually thinking about where I'm going and where I might park and how long it's going to take me and who I might meet and where I'm going to get the whatever it is. I'm not thinking about unlock the car, put the key in, turn the key, start the car, etc. I'm not thinking that. I'm doing that on autopilot. And there's a lot of life that is autopilot, and it's fine. But don't confuse the whole of life with being autopilot. In actual fact, the autopilot bit's probably quite small. The rest of it is learning to be there, be in the moment, be in the now, seeing everything that's around you, noticing everything that's around you, and knowing where to focus on the next step. That's what the witch is doing here. She's in her sacred space and she's marking it out. She's differentiating it from the forest around her for her own purposes. That's fine. She knows how to do that. And this is what she and the other denizens of the Enchanted Forest will teach you on your journey as you walk the paths of the Enchanted Forest. It's an amazing thing to do, and it is so much fun, and it is so helpful. I don't know where I'd be if I didn't walk the forest every day. I really don't. And all the students that I've taught to walk it, they all say, it just changed my life. It changed my ordinary, boring job even. It changed my relationships. It changed how I worked with my kids. It changed how I worked with my garden. It changed how I took my dog for a walk. It's everything. The Enchanted Forest is everything and is everywhere and is life. But it's in a story form that we can absorb easily. Anyways, much more easily than we ever absorbed that recipe in the cookery book. We remember stories that really hit us, that really touch us inside. You've all got stories like that in your head now, just because I mentioned it. And your own story is like that too. You are the protagonist. You are the hero. And you are having all these adventures. And the Enchanted Forest is how you make sense of your adventures, because it helps you, it shows you relevancies and how to notice things, how to be there, and how to work with everything. And it gives you the skill to reach out and find your ancestral wisdom and keep growing it and growing it and growing it forever. And do you remember in another one I said to you, the Enchanted Forest holds everyone's stories, everything's stories, forever. Well, that's part of the story, part of your story that you're going to give her. The adventures that you're doing now and that you will do in the future and that you have done in the past. You are building everyone's ancestral wisdom by building your own story. And you are also building your own knowing of your ancestral wisdom too. Isn't that worth it? I think so. And I also know that it's very good fun doing it. So that's all we're going to talk about today in the forest. That's it for the moment. That's it for this adventure. But I will be back, not too distant. Keep looking out and following it. And I'll be back soon with another story. And it's getting closer to me being able to give you the special super surprise that will help you on your journey in the Enchanted Forest. So, see you on the other side.